You are a female entrepreneur. Do you feel like...
Respect. Eat, play, crush. Eat clean, play often, crush life. It's really just about matching your every single choice with the intentions you're having. Otherwise, I don't want to hear your complaints. Fuck manifestation, make shit happen. Finding freedom, and when you find freedom, you've found your power. Chase your passion, follow your dreams. I think that is really misguided bullshit. I think that you're supposed to bring passion to everything that it is that you do. The fact that I work with world-class athletes, and it's a mindset for them. They know they have to put in the work to try to get the trophy. They get the trophy, and then it starts all over again.
You are listening to the Optimal Performance Podcast. The OPP is brought to you by Natural Stacks, makers of 100% natural and open source supplements designed to help you live optimal. For more information on building optimal mental and physical performance into your life, keep it right here listening to the OPP or visit naturalstacks.com.
Ryan Muncie is probably the smartest guy I know.
Trust me, Muncie is the nutrition guy.
Ryan Muncie's out there trying to make the world better for all of us.
The Optimal Performance Podcast is bold, edgy, creative, entertaining, and epic.
Ryan Muncie is my go-to guy.
Ryan Muncie he's the first guy I call.
He's making people's lives better. Ryan Muncie's an innovator.
All right, welcome back to the OPP, ladies and gentlemen. Really fun and inspirational episode for you today. We're talking with Mary Shenouda. Mary is the Paleo Chef. If you're not familiar with Mary, we will introduce her in just a few minutes on the actual show. Got to sit down with Mary in person on our recent trip to LA, which if you've been listening to the podcast, you know that means we will open this interview with a few of our hot seat questions. You get to hear Mary's favorite animal, a couple other easy intro type questions, and then we really dive in with Mary on some really fascinating topics and some things that I know will help you on your journey. Before we get to Mary, the housekeeping notes, as always, number one, go to naturalstacks.com. You'll be able to see the blog post with video for this, as well as all the links and resources from this particular episode. Second, go to iTunes, leave us a 5-star review. Let us know how much you like the show. If we read your review on the air, we will hook you up with free Natural Stacks products. So we're going to read one to you now from Red Dirt Equine Inc. This was a direct message on Instagram. So, hey, if you're more comfortable shooting me a message on Instagram, commenting on posts there, that's fine, do that. But please know that your reviews on iTunes help the rankings for our show, which helps us reach more people. So we prefer the review on iTunes, but we'll take it any way we can get it, right? So Red Dirt Equine Inc. says, your podcast and overall mindset have been life-changing inspiration. So thank you for that. For you guys listening, not only are we asking for the reviews, but I'm urging you as you listen, if you hear something in this episode or any episode that you listen to, if something jumps out at you, if you resonate with something, if there's a message in there that you love, share it with somebody in your life who you know will benefit from and enjoy that particular message, that episode, or this podcast as a whole. That's what we're here for. We want to provide you and as many people in the world as we can with the tools that you need to make your experience on Earth as awesome and as powerful as it can possibly be. So with that said, here's Mary. Enjoy the show. Welcome back to the OPP, guys. We're joined by Mary Shenouda.
Hi.
Also
Hi.
known as Paleo Chef, Phat Fudge creator.
Yeah. Eat, play, crush.
You play Crush.
Myrrh to the OGs.
To the OGs. Mary, thanks for hanging out with us today.
Thanks for having me.
So for you guys listening, if you're not familiar with Mary, Mary is a professional chef to a lot of people who, are dominating life and are seeking out someone who can provide them with the fuel that they need to entertain us or educate us, or whether it's movies,
win a championship, or just be cool, just be awesome.
Yeah. So she's providing them with the fuel to do that as a private chef. You're also killing Instagram with pictures of your amazing food. You've got YouTube videos. You've got so many things going on. And we're going to talk today about, how our listeners can eat, play, crush, kind of find their true passion, stay the course. A lot of fun stuff. But before we do that, I got a couple of easy questions for you to get you warmed up.
Okay.
All right. If you could be any animal, what animal would you be and why?
A unicorn.
I knew she was going to say that. I knew it.
Duh.
Okay. So aside from being, the maker of unicorn fuel, why a unicorn?
So I've never really felt like I fit in. And I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing. Even growing up in school, being from Egypt, they would make you check other. I'm like, what is other?
That's messed up.
So just even from a young age, I always felt like I didn't quite belong or didn't quite fit in, but it didn't mean I liked myself any less. So I don't think you're allowed to call yourself a unicorn, but I was called a unicorn or was given gifts related to unicorn stuff since I was a kid, that one day I just decided to accept it, that I was a unicorn. Okay. And I feel like unicorns can do whatever it is they want.
All right. I think that's a perfect segue into one of the other talking points that I want to go over with you is, I think you more than any other person that I've ever met are very confident and secure in your beliefs and your values, and you will stick to those guns no matter what, whether it's a personal thing, a business thing. You have your values and you stick to them before you would kind of cave in for more money or whatever it might be.
So because I don't get to consume myself from an outside perspective, like what are the values that come across in what you've experienced of me?
Okay, so I don't know that it's necessarily any one value in particular as much as your conviction to whatever it may be.
Okay, so, I just move with conviction, much like a unicorn?
Right.
Got it.
And that's why a unicorn is such an appropriate thing. But I guess my question is, how are you, you said I felt like I've never fit in, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners may, at one time or another, I think we've all felt that way.
Yeah, definitely.
So how do you move through life with conviction or confidence, even when you don't feel like you fit in or when you feel like you're standing out?
I was pretty soft-spoken until I went to elementary school, and I got picked on and bullied a lot. And that's where a little bit of like my aggression came from and my having to assert myself and speak up came from. And I think I became very comfortable with that early on. So it could be somewhat trained at a young age. If I think about it from the perspective of like who I am today, I think I'm kind of a douchebag. And I think I have a lot to learn, and by accepting who I am and where I am, I then allow myself the space to grow at the same time. So not being ashamed of my upside.
Okay. So we're less than 5 minutes in. You've called yourself a unicorn and a douchebag.
You can be both. There's a coloring book about bad unicorns that I have.
Yeah.
It's all these unicorns like fucking shit up and like smoking cigarettes. It's a great coloring book.
It's not for kids?
No.
I promise you guys, we will talk about how to make organ meats taste delicious and how to upgrade your paleo or your keto diet. But Mary is such an awesome person. I want you guys to be able to get to know Mary a little bit. And I want to try to pull some things out that have helped you eat, play, crush, so that our listeners can do the same.
And I appreciate it because apparently I need to pull them out too. And people to give them names.
Yes. So we talked to Logan yesterday. We talked a lot about, how they've defined their processes at Deuce and how that's enabled them a lot more opportunities and growth and to be able to kind of stay on that true north.
They're amazing. Like if anyone doesn't know who Logan is, he is one of the most grounded, intelligent, well-spoken, well-written individuals I've ever met. One of the first people I met when I moved to Venice. I was really scared of him for a while and always thought he didn't like me.
He's a stoic.
Yeah,
it's hard
he
to
is.
see emotion.
He is.
Yeah.
And every time we interact, I'm always like, Logan, do you like me? He's like, what is wrong with you?
Right.
So now we have matching tattoos, but Logan's a great person, and they've done a really good job of identifying a process and making it something that can be not repeated exactly, but repeated and modified to other people's needs.
Right. So I bring that up because I guess that's what we're trying to help you do now is identify some of the things that you do.
Oh, do I owe you money at the end of this?
No, not at all. Not at all. I think we owe you money. So, you know, with that said, you are a female entrepreneur. Do you feel like
Respect.
Do you feel like that attitude has served you well as you've? I mean, you are dominating what you do, and whether you're male or female, I think you have to have a certain attitude,
Right.
a certain hustle, a certain aggression, a certain ability to speak up and go after what you want to be a successful entrepreneur. So,
Yes.
male or female, that has to be something that helps you.
Yes. But wouldn't you agree it's sometimes harder for women?
I agree. No, I'm not saying that it's harder.
Right.
That it's not.
It's hard for everyone. You can either look at it as a disadvantage or you can look at it as a competitive edge.
Right.
So being a woman and being a female entrepreneur, or even my 10 years of corporate experience, being a woman who was 10 years younger than everyone else, and I didn't go to college, so I also had that. I could looked at that all as a disadvantage, or I can look at it as a competitive advantage.
You didn't go to college?
No, I'm a high school dropout.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right,
I'm the first person in the whole family not to go to college.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and that obviously it didn't hinder you in the corporate world.
No, I wasn't really honest about my age during the interview process. They didn't ask. I didn't tell. And then when they found out and I was already at 150% of quota, they're not going to knock that person out.
So moral of the story is get your foot in the door,
Yeah.
deliver value,
Yeah.
and you're an asset.
Pretty much. And I learned that really early on. I think I was a lot more jovial and happy and lighthearted back then because I didn't understand what they were talking about with structure and look a certain way and act a certain way, which I think allowed me to get so much done. And I'm a little more jaded now. But I learned that if you provide value, especially if it's tied to money the company is making, you're allotted a certain amount of freedom, and you can push back and talk back and question things because you're bringing money in the door.
Right. So, as we talk about these things, I guess now is as good a time as any to have you define Eat, Play, Crush. What does that mean to you?
So, Mary the Paleo Chef was going for about, I want to say, maybe a year. And then I sold everything I owned in San Francisco, came down to LA to restart here. And I was trying to summarize, what is it that I embody? And eating clean is important to me. So that was easy. Eat. Playing has always been important to me. I was the clown in the corporate jobs. I was incorporating fun in some way. So play was really important. And then I couldn't figure out the last piece for a while. And my friend said to me, you've been saying you crush life for as long as I have known you. You are a dude bro in your heart. You got to use that. And I was actually really hesitant to use crush life because I was still getting rid of a bullying I got as a child, even in corporate America, even in the dating world, that you're too masculine, crushing life is too masculine. That's not good enough. And so I was like, I don't know. I feel like it might be alienating. And then I had a moment where I'm like, why the fuck am I questioning who I am? Why am I letting an outside party, an outside voice, change who I am at the core? If I try to force myself to change that, not only will I be resentful of whatever I put up, I probably won't meet my goals. So I was like, fuck it. It's eat, play, crush. Eat clean, play often, crush life. And when I first put it out there, I said, look, you can crush life or you can have a crush on your life. A lot of brands and a lot of sayings are very exclusive. And I want Eat, Play, Crush to be inclusive. So I want everyone to make it their own. And that was going on for about 6 months. And then I was having a moment of doubt, what have I done? I think I'm failing. And I was sitting on the couch having a womp womp moment. And I got an email or a tweet.
Can we add sound effects in when she says a womp womp moment? All right.
And I got a tweet from a reader and said that she had a surprise for me and she was really excited to show me coming in the next tweet. And I was expecting a cool dish or something related to food. And she got Eat, Play, Crush tattooed on her arm. And I saw that and I was like, oh shit. Oh shit.
What have I done?
And I call my friend Rana over and I'm like, look at this. And she's like, how do you feel? I'm like, this is a lot of responsibility. I don't know. And my friend said to me, she goes, you're so stubborn that you actually need permanent ink put in your face for you to understand that you're doing something you're supposed to be doing. And that reader, her name is Erica, badass woman. She had spent a year losing 100 pounds.
Awesome.
Following her idea of paleo, or paleo as I call it. And she said to me, because I had to get on Skype, I'm like, I have to meet you. She's like, look, I have been trying to describe what it is I'm doing in my life, and you put it in 3 words. I was like, oh, that's so cool. So then I never questioned it again. So Eat, Play, Crush is eating for your body, making sure you have joy, because when you have those 2 set up, it's much easier to crush life or have a crush on your life.
Absolutely. Well said. So I think the first part of that story, when you said, this is me, this is who I am, like that's a prime example of what I'm talking about and how you are one of those people who sticks to what your values are. So you asked me for examples, you just provided one for us. And the other thing is something that I think you do well in your business that other businesses either don't do or don't do in an authentic way. That is something that has really helped your brand building in your business, where you said, okay, this person did this. I have to meet them. I want to meet them. Not for PR, not to make the business, but it's like, I want to be involved with this person and I want to know them. I want to meet them. And
that's weird to me that that's not normal.
Right.
I don't even understand that.
But you have to admit that that's difficult at scale. Like the larger you become, the larger your business becomes, the more difficult that becomes. Probably.
I'm not there yet. I don't have that problem yet. I mean, bite my tongue. Maybe I do want to have that problem one day, but I don't know. The Rock pulls over on the side of the road when someone has a sign up to say hi. And he's like, any opportunity he has to do that, he does that.
Yeah.
The Rock's cool.
The Rock is cool. Please come on the show, Rock. All right. So you mentioned Paleo.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. There's so much information out there in the world.
Yes.
How do we disseminate, what's the best way for us? Because, that's something that we talk a lot about on the show. Look, for our listeners, we try to provide to you guys all of the tools and all of the education so that you can make the most informed decision for yourself. And I think that's sort of in line with the paleo approach that you take to whether it's keto or primal or paleo or whatever. So, I recently found out that I have an intolerance to egg yolks and chicken and oats.
How did you find the egg yolks part?
I took a food intolerance test, and we will be recording that next week with the folks at Pinner Test.
Okay.
We'll talk all about the testing procedure and what I found out and how it's changed for me. But you know what it's like to find out what you need to avoid.
Right.
And how your life can be improved by removing that stuff.
Right. So 2nd grade is when my health issues began. And it coincides where at the same time I was eating less of my food at home from my mom, which is all Mediterranean food, and eating school lunches. Mm-hmm. So looking back, I'm like, it was the American diet.
Right. Right. That's standard American diet. Sad.
Yeah. And so I started with migraines, and migraines became very normal for me. Headaches every day, migraines twice a week. I'd be vomiting and then I'd pass out from dehydration, and they're very serious. Loss of hospitalizations. And then that moved into rashes. And I posted some pictures of what happens when I eat gluten. And that was normal for me again, having the skin conditions, and then hormonal imbalances, problems with my period, and always in pain, always at the doctor's office, and always pretending like everything was okay at work. Because again, I'm at work with males who are 10 years my senior. And if you're having a bad day or sick day, they like to assume like, oh, did a boy break up with you? And so I would like have sunglasses at my desk, and I had to make a deal with myself to understand why doctors couldn't really place what was happening with my body. So I said, if I'm suffering this much, then someone somewhere else in the world must be suffering less, like just to get through it. And they were trying to diagnose me with lupus. Couple doctors threw around cancer, and then they're giving me all this crazy medication that was just making me more sick. And I think it was 24 or 25, maybe 26. You get over a certain age, you forget what year things happen. Right. At some age in my 20s, the migraines were getting worse, and I was going back and doing my regular blood testing to see what else was wrong with me. And they were talking about cancer again, and I just got really frustrated with them, and then mad at myself for putting so much trust in them when I'm such a go-getter everywhere else in my life. So I started doing some research online, found the TED Talk by Dr. Terry Walls about the mitochondria, had a history of studying the mitochondria when I was in high school, and I was like, oh, this makes sense. Found a lab called Intero Lab that does stool test and cheek test. I'd been tested for celiac before, a blood test, and a blood test I've learned is 60% inconclusive. At the time, I don't know if they've made any changes or improvements to those blood tests. So when the stool test came back, which is a story in itself because UPS lost my shit for 24 hours, literally
Lost your shit.
for 24 hours. I was expecting a gluten intolerance, but it came back that I was a celiac intolerant to casein and soy.
Okay.
And I was pumped. And I had a couple of friends who'd gone through testing at the same time. They got the results and they were crying. I'm like, this is amazing. Like, do you understand how much power you have now?
Right.
So I just changed my diet. I started with just gluten and milk, dairy, and I was still eating quinoa. I was still eating some rice. I was still eating like goat dairy. Saw massive improvements, and then kind of backdoored into the word paleo because it's much easier to say paleo than it is to say gluten, casein, soy intolerance to someone.
Right.
And that was right when CrossFit was starting to get really popular and paleo was starting to get really popular. And then I decided so within 3 months, symptoms started to go away that I'd had since I was in second grade. And then I started to follow more of a strict paleo just for curiosity's sake. And then everything that ever bothered me went away. And I was like, oh shit, this is really awesome. I woke up one day without a headache for the first time in like 20 years. Wow. Which was really confusing, to be totally honest.
So the thing I hear there and that our listeners can implement is the importance of testing. I mean, blood tests, stool tests, food intolerance tests, whatever it might be. And
keep testing. Just because I got those results then doesn't mean I don't retest everything every 6 months.
No, okay. So you retest everything every 6 months. Okay. Have you seen changes in those tests in the
Not
interval?
to the dairy or the gluten.
So a question for you, because, and we'll talk about Phat Fudge in a little bit, but I know one of the ingredients is grass-fed butter.
Yeah.
There's no issues with you.
No, and that's a testament to Paleo. So I'm casein intolerant, but I can tolerate 2 or 3 specific grass-fed butters. And I like to use myself as a guinea pig. I won't guinea pig with gluten. I don't need to.
Right.
It's really awful.
Right.
But I do guinea pig with different types of like beans or with dairy. And butter does not bother me. Cream, milk, cheese is no bueno for me.
Okay. So when you do experiment, my guess is that you're going to make sure that, like, if you introduce a new bean to test it, that's the only thing that you would change for a couple of days at a time. So if our listeners wanted to test on themselves, make sure that you don't change anything else for like 3 or 4 days, because from what I've learned that it can take up to 72 hours to see that response.
Yeah, for some people, I take 20 minutes. Yeah, I know within 20 minutes if something has negatively impacted me.
Okay.
But I say if you're going to test something new, make sure you have a clean baseline for at least 3 weeks before you do the test. And then test for a consistent 3 to 4 days. And even if you stop eating at day 4, don't go nuts until day 5 or 6, just in case.
Okay. All right. What other Paleo recommendations or guidelines do you find yourself sharing with either your audience or your private chef clients?
They're not guidelines. I don't know if you noticed this. I don't prescribe anything on my feed.
I know.
Yeah. I'm like, you guys got to figure this shit out for yourself. Because I don't want to be confused with a nutritionist by any means.
Things that you find yourself saying.
Yeah. So I tell people,
frequently.
Use strict paleo as an incredible baseline. Clean everything up. And then slowly introduce things one at a time and find what it is that works best for you. And then when you find the things that you're intolerant to or your body doesn't agree with, stop eating it. And if there are things that you just don't really want to have in your diet all the time because they just might not be really healthy or serving you, think about what your goals are. So if your goals are to be an ultra athlete, you probably aren't going to have any alcohol in your diet.
Right.
So make sure those choices align with your actions, or your intentions align with your actions. But if you're not trying to be an ultra athlete, then alcohol is not that big of a deal and you don't need to freak out about it. So it's really just about matching your every single choice with the intentions you're having. Otherwise, I don't want to hear your complaints. I'm very clear about that. Yeah, it's so individual. There's no real. I point to the people that have written those books that are about programs, because that's what they're good at.
Right.
So I always say, read Mark Sisson's book or Rob Wolf's book or Diane Sanfilippo's book. Those are incredible baselines. Do that for 30 days and then start experimenting in your own life and put those experiments up against blood testing.
Yep. So for you guys listening, go to naturalstacks.com for the blog post for this episode. We'll have links to some of the tests that I've used, some of the tests that Mary's used, and of course, all of the books that a lot of our friends in the paleo and health world have written. So let's talk about Phat Fudge.
PHAT.
PHAT, right? So I think it's fascinating that this is something that, it's a packaged product that you guys can go buy in Rocky Mountain area, Whole Foods.
Whole Foods, Rocky Mountain area, a couple of specialty stores in the East Coast New York area, a couple of specialty stores in Florida, all the Erewhons here, all the Sun Life Organics here in Los Angeles, and then online. And then in Canada, there's some stores that are carrying it too. And
this is something that, it's packaged now, but I mean, you were making this as a fuel for your private clients way back when.
Yep.
That's so cool. I mean, what were they asking for that kind of led you to discover this, or how did that?
I was a big user of goo pre-paleo, and went paleo. Always wanted something that was like goo, but never really put it together. It was always in the back of my mind, and I had been invited to do some consulting with the Oracle sailing team, and they needed food that's on the water. And so again, it was in my head, like, how do I figure this out? And at the time for them, I was just recommending putting all the nutrients that they needed into powdered down chia seeds. So it'd be like a gel pack. But I was annoyed that wasn't in my mind good enough. So I always had that in my mind that I wanted to do that. And then had my professional athlete clients here that I was making unicorn fuel, which is the coffee version of that forever. And then my clients and my readers are like, how do we get unicorn fuel when we're traveling? Because it's all the different spices you put together. And I'm like, I don't know, like, make unicorn dust and bring it in a canister, like, figure it out, guys. And Mark Sisson was like, why don't you make the dust a product? And I'm like, because it's not exciting to me. Like, I'm like an awful business person on one hand, and amazing one on another hand.
Basically screaming for this thing, and you're like, I don't know, you guys make it yourself.
Yeah. And then there's an Egyptian dessert, not Egyptian, Middle Eastern, Mediterranean. I don't want any one country to be like, it's ours. There's a dessert called halawa in Egyptian dialect, but halva, I think, to everyone else, which is just tahini and honey. And I was making these tahini fat bombs for one of my professional athletes that was just tahini and butter. And then I had my canister of unicorn dust, and then I was making halawa one day. And you have to time the honey just right. Otherwise, it won't crystallize when you put it in the fridge for the next 48 hours. And I was like, I messed this up. I'll just turn it into fudge. So I threw in butter. I threw in a whole bunch of the unicorn dust. And then the next day I took a bite of it. And I'm like, oh my God, I discovered it.
I did it.
This is Sparta. I figured it out. So I tweaked with the formulation to make it more focused nutrition-wise, like reduce the honey down to just 2 grams. And I started to make that for my clients and posting pictures of it. People were freaking out over, what is that? So then I posted that recipe. That recipe went viral. People were taking pictures of Phat Fudge in sandwich bags that they were taking on their runs. And then postpartum moms were using it after they had the baby. And then there's like, people were emailing me about family members that were late stage cancer, and Phat Fudge was the only thing that they were able to like actually hold onto in their body to maintain weight. And I'm like, this is really cool because I just created a thing and now everyone's finding their own use for it, like Paleo basically, which is cool. And everyone said, turn it into a product. I'm like, Mom, no, let's figure this out. So I started tinkering with what a package would look like. And then I was going to do hand packing. So I put 50 orders up, put on a unicorn head, while on Periscope to watch it live. I'm like, okay, you guys, there's 50 orders, which means 600 packets that are live on the site right now. And that sold out in an hour. And I kept doing that until every Monday it would sell out after 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
And people were getting really angry that they couldn't get their
I can
Phat
only
Fudge.
make so much of this.
Yeah. Well, like this is the muscle. I think I've said this to you before.
Yeah.
And so then I had to figure out how to scale it. And co-packers are really expensive. So I got to, for the first time, call upon people that follow my work and ask for help in that way. It's saying, I don't want investors. I don't want to go on Shark Tank. I don't want to do a Kickstarter. I just need this many pre-orders to be able to kick this business off. And they came through, like close to $90,000 in pre-orders over the course of 30 days with someone who is virtually a nobody and a nobody within the nobodies. And I didn't have, people showed up and helped and like passed on the word. And here I am, kind of a big kid.
Yeah, I was gonna say I
in
disagree
training.
with the nobodies, but it's such a cool story. I think we'll switch gears from Phat Fudge and talk about. I definitely want to talk to you about cooking organ meats.
Yes.
Because our listeners know the importance of organ meats, but we struggle with. Okay, so I went to the farmer's market and I got lucky and they had beef kidney, but I don't know what to do with this thing when I get it home.
Right.
Or they have lamb hearts at Whole Foods now, and
They do?
At least at my Whole Foods.
What?
They do. Yeah. But and a lot of
jealous.
people may come home and they'll say, well, what do I do with this thing?
Do they devein it for you?
No.
With the whole heart?
Yes.
Oh,
so that's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
a lot of times people may not know like what to do. So
Yeah.
give us a crash course in. I think one of your blogs was like making offal not awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so liver is the thing that I've been eating since I was a kid, and I'm turning as many people on to liver as I can.
Yeah.
I even put it on a menu for a pop-up, and 100 people ate liver at once, which was so cool to me. I feel like such a nerd saying that. I think that if you're going to a butcher and you're getting something like heart or kidney, go ahead and ask them to do some of the hard work for you. I don't expect someone to bring it home and know exactly what to do or be stoked about it. If you don't have a recipe in mind, look up the most ethnic recipe you can find with organ meat, because usually the most ethnic people have grown up making it forever, so they are the pros at it. And I say that because the recipe I have up for bangin' liver, which I actually had a challenge this week. I said, everybody try making bangin' liver, tag me in it, and you guys will all get a free package of Phat Fudge just for trying organ meat. It was pretty awesome.
That is cool. What was the response?
Everyone loved it that actually did it.
Okay.
So bangin' liver, I've had it a particular way that my mom would make it for us growing up. Mm-hmm. And I thought that's the way you prepare liver. And I didn't understand why none of my friends didn't like it. Went to a friend's house who is all American, made liver and onions. Is this looks awful, this tastes awful, this feels awful. Whoa, it's awful. Just awful. Right. Actually awful.
Like AWFUL, not OFFAL.
And so that's why I emphasize that if you're gonna try organ meat for the first time, go to the most ethnic blog you can find.
We'll put your blog on the website, so you guys check out Mary's recipe for banging liver.
It's bomb.
And then the chili that you just fed us was
another recipe. It's called Hide Your Liver, Hide Your Kidney Chili. And that's a really spicy grass-fed bison. I did beef for you guys, but the recipe is bison, and it's got ground liver and ground kidney in it. Mm-hmm. But it's a way to hide it if you just can't deal with the whole seeing liver.
But you're going to your butcher and you're asking for those organs to be ground together?
So I get that particular one, the recipe that's online, and I have it linked, is to the Honest Bison. Okay. And they'll send you packages where it's all ground together.
Okay.
And I think that's a big part of it. So whether you're doing it in that chili version, or if you're doing my recipe for bangin' liver, mm-hmm. chopping it up really finely, texture is really important.
Right.
I love the whole liver, but I don't expect everyone else to. And it does taste different when you've chopped it all up and let it kind of sit with the cumin, and the cardamom, and the cinnamon. Like it's magical.
Yeah, and it's funny how cardamom makes those organs taste so much better.
Yeah.
Because one of the ways that I'm sneaking more into my diet is the U.S. Wellness Meats liverwurst, and that's 50% beef, and then the other 50% is the organs. I think it's 30% liver, 15% heart, 15% kidney, and they have a lot of cardamom in there, and that's amazing. So if you guys are too lazy to cook like me, then you can just do it that way.
You should just try cooking at least once or twice for yourself.
I cook. I know.
It's a
how
survival
to cook.
skill. Okay.
I know how to cook. I'm just too lazy to do it.
Or you can also make bacon liver in bulk and then put it in the freezer and then just be able to take it out at any time. A few of my readers have done that.
Yeah. So like, I was just getting ready to ask you for some practical tips like that to help maybe a lot of our listeners who are super busy or juggling, you know, careers and family or multiple career pursuits. What are some time-saving tips to, you know, get better in the kitchen?
So being brutally honest, being someone who is a chef for a living, I don't like to meal prep. I think it's a disrespect to my meals. So I like to make every meal pretty fresh or make a meal once and enjoy it two different ways. So the advice I give, I want to say it's more of do as I say, not as I do, unless you want to go through the process of making a meal. Because cooking for me is like meditation, and I'm not going to ask someone, like if someone told me to stop meditating, I'd be like, go fuck yourself.
Right.
But making in bulk, so like I have an ebook. It's a whatever ebook. It's a 5-day guide, but it's made for busy people. So it's fitness if you have no time and no equipment. It's mindset, and it's kind of a step into my mind and like where I go, that I call it the 5 phases to my power and self-mastery.
What are those 5 phases? Just a sneak peek.
It's all just silly stuff. It's like finding balance, finding intention, fuck manifestation, make shit happen, finding freedom. And when you find freedom, you found your power. And it's kind of like what I go through in my mind to get to those places, because I am motivated by power. And when power, I mean like power over myself and power over my lifestyle. And then it's 5 recipes or 5 days worth of recipes that you can cook once, eat twice. So there's like maca morning sausage muffins in there that I like making my own sausage muffins. You can make it for the whole week in one day and have a quick protein-packed breakfast. How to make salmon once but enjoy it over beets as well as parsnips for dinner. And I have it, I talk about why I do the carbs at night versus the lighter thing in the day. But it is cooking in bulk. I don't like, there's no magic sauce to that.
Right.
Just cook in bulk. And again, if you want to save time, don't bitch about it being repetitive. If you don't want it to be repetitive, then cook more of that. And if you don't like any of that, then hire a private chef. If that's too expensive, then find a meal service. Like there is a solution once you stop having excuses. So just figure out the one that's going to give you the least resistance.
I love it.
Have you seen my rant about humans being so silly and like...
No.
Oh, we'll pull it up. We'll put it on the site.
Okay.
It's just me calling everybody out, including myself.
Okay. You want to share some of that with us now, or?
I can't. I have to pull it up then.
Okay.
I can't remember.
Don't worry about it. We'll share it with you guys. We'll put that on the blog post as well. You guys can go check out Mary's rant on that. I want to circle back to Eat, Play, Crush. There's a question that I have for you that I forgot to ask while we were on that topic. Yeah, it's on the shirt. You know, not every one of our listeners is maybe an entrepreneur. Some people do work in the corporate world.
Yes.
You are going to speak in the corporate world next week at a very high level business. And, you know, I think obviously if you're able to do that, then you have some insights into, you know, your experience in the corporate world, but also how, you know, other people can implement this for whatever aspect of their life it is, whatever their life path is. You know, if somebody's not an entrepreneur, how do you kind of feel that sense of power over your own destiny? Or
sure, there's that whole philosophy is chase your passion, follow your dreams. I think that is really misguided bullshit. I think that you're supposed to bring passion to everything that it is that you do. So you wake up with passion, you go to work with passion, you say hello to your neighbor with passion, then you find the thing that actually works for you that'll have some sort of longevity, whether it's staying within another organization or starting your own. So I do believe that living with passion or excitement, like you woke up this morning, that is so rad. Celebrate that for a second. Yeah. And like what comes first, those habits and then that mindset, or is it that mindset and then those habits follow? And I think about the fact that I work with world-class athletes, and it's a mindset for them. They know they have to put in the work to try to get the trophy. They get the trophy and then it starts all over again. And I think people need to let go of this, I need the trophy first and then I'll do the work. And just prepare yourself to be in that mindset. And as far as like making it more actionable, like you wake up with intention, come up with a routine that makes sense for you. It's going to be different based on your blood work or your day. And then incorporate a lot of your lifestyle into your office. So the things I talk about when I go into a corporate environment, and I tell them, I might be on my own now, but I had 10 years of being in an office and being in a cubicle. And my very first real corporate job was at a company called Venice, which is very corporate. And I requested a stand-up desk. It started because I wanted to impress a boy, to be totally honest. Because I got an endo board and got a stand-up desk, and I'm like, I'm cool too. But there's obviously a lot of benefits to that.
Right.
It actually really started with not really understanding the idea of this is better for my body to walk around and be on the endo board. It was, I can think faster when I'm walking and pacing on the headset, when I'm doing pitches. So it started with that. And after the stand-up desk on the endo board, I'd bring a kettlebell into the office, and I would have push-up challenges with the guys in the office and kettlebell swing challenges with the guys in the office, and we would have breaks for that. And I had reminders on my phone that would go off middle of the day, towards the end of the day, and it would play Dave Brubeck Take 5, and that was my reminder to go take 5 and go outside. And I would just, again, I was the youngest on the team, so
Right.
it seemed silly to them, but I would go and like lay in the grass outside this office and just look at the leaves. And this is not for everyone, but I incorporated play in some way.
Yeah.
For better or worse, I incorporated napping. I used to nap under my desk. I made a bed under my desk until HR got mad, and then I napped in my car.
This is awesome. But I mean, these are things that, like, there's so many things right there that our listeners can implement. I mean, whether you work at home or
like
in an
pick and
office.
choose. It's incorporating who I am in my lifestyle into that block of 9 to 5 or whatever the hours are, starting with intention, starting with good choices, being prepared. I always had, at the time, this is really bad, it was all muscle milk. So I always had my muscle milk ready. So this is obviously pre-paleo by a lot, but having those things there.
Right. But I think that highlights a point that I know I've made several times on this show, is that, when I look back to how I first started eating when I was, 10, 12 years ago, I thought it was the best way to eat then.
Yeah.
I look back now and I laugh at some of the things
Right.
I did. But the point is, you do the best you can.
You had the habit there.
Right. The habit is there, and you're doing the best
Yeah.
you can with, the knowledge and the tools that you have at your disposal.
Right.
And you're always seeking more.
Right.
And to try to advance.
Right.
So it doesn't matter what you do or don't know now. You just do the best you can with what you have and what you know.
I think Arthur Ashe said that.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. But
Yeah.
all right. So we'll give him credit for that. It seeped in somehow.
And so taking what I did back then and applying it now, I don't know that every HR is going to give everyone a stand-up desk. So I talk about ways to hack your own stand-up desk. I use Fluid Stance as my balance board. I use it when I'm cooking. That's not safe. Don't do that. But I do that. So I would talk to the office about, get some Fluid Stance in here. Put those reminders. Make sure you have foods. I bring a whole bunch of samples of products that I love that are very quick. I emphasize the importance of having a buddy system or having friends at work. I'm not a team player, so this is another like do as I say, not as I do type of thing. But I know that community is really important for most people. So don't shy away from that. Like make friends in the office. Be an example, because once you're the example rather than the preacher, other people in the office will jump in with you. And then when enough of you are all on board for this, corporate pays attention and they start filling the kitchen with the things that you want and buying everyone a Fluid Stance. So talking about that kind of stuff. And then it is really about mindset and just reminding people that they only have one body. That's it.
Okay. All right. And I know you said you have the Fluid Stance here at home. Do you have a stand-up desk now that you work at home?
No,
You stand up in the kitchen.
I go to the
a lot.
beach to work. we have Wi-Fi out here at the beach. It's city provided.
Thank you, Venice Beach.
So I take my Fluid Stance with me when I go cooking.
Okay.
At clients' houses, which usually trips them out. And I alternate between standing at the counter, going outside, sitting out there by the sun. I move around when I work a lot. And I did that a lot in corporate America too. I was at my desk maybe 30% of the time and then finding other places to work.
I find myself doing that too at home. I'm sometimes in the office, sometimes downstairs at the kitchen table, sometimes at the dining room table, and anywhere I travel, I don't know what it is, but I can't sit in the same place with the same view. I feel stagnant.
Yeah. I spent so many years getting up with an alarm, and I don't know that this is going to be like relatable and from the sense of what I do now. So many years getting up with an alarm before the sun gets up. Master your mornings or whatever. I don't want to do that anymore. So I get up naturally when the sun gets up. I've always been wired that way if I don't have the alarm waking me up before. So I get up when the sun gets up, but I don't pop out of bed. I sit there and I bask in the enjoyment of I woke up today. This is really rad. I take deep breaths. I revel in the fact that I don't have to rush anywhere anymore. And I have a dog who's on the floor right now, and we have a little bonding moment. I'll stare at him for like 15 minutes. We just do a little face stare. And once I feel good and ready to get out of bed, I get out of bed and I post about this repetitively, my drinks in the morning. Mm-hmm. So I do a mix of apple cider vinegar, black seed oil, not flaxseed, black seed oil, water and ice, and wait 20 minutes. And then I do ketones and MCT powder with ice and water. And then I wait another 20 minutes to half an hour and I do a packet of Phat Fudge with a hot cup of coffee. And if I'm going to do any physical activity, I'll do 2 packets of Phat Fudge. And then I don't really have my first meal until after lunch, traditional lunchtime. Mm-hmm. And that changes, right? There's nothing in my life is perfect. Right. If I wake up and I'm famished, I'm going to eat some meat for sure. But if not, I find that if I try to make consistent meals every morning, I'm too bogged down and I have no motivation to do anything. Right. So I think keeping my morning fluids and those particular things prepares me for what it is I'm trying to accomplish.
Okay. All right. So now that we've heard your optimization routine, we're going to ask you to audit your life a little bit. We're doing some hot seats with other guests while we're out here. So we're going to put you on the hot seat now. Start, stop, and continue. So one thing that you're doing, or one thing that you want to add, start doing, one thing that you're doing that you want to stop doing, and one thing that you're doing that's working and you need to continue to do it.
The community that we're in is really focused on like, how do you bullet what it is you're doing? And like, how do you hack it? Right. And I don't identify with any of those things because I'm just being, because I could be dead tomorrow and I don't want to overthink it today. Right. So however it is you describe that, I want to continue doing that. I don't want to be able to make what I'm doing into a rock solid manual, because then I feel like it pulls away from just taking advantage of sitting here and breathing. Right. I want to stop questioning whether or not I'm real, in the sense that I have imposter syndrome a lot. Like, I might be failing, and I think it has to do with growing up in Silicon Valley, where your barometer of success is like Zuckerberg, and I'm like, oh my God, I suck. So not feeling like I'm failing or I'm behind, and I've recently got over like not feeling like a chef because I didn't go to culinary school. So I would like to have much less of those moments now than I did before, and I want to continue to have less of those. And I do want to start creating a little bit more process and routine in my businesses. Okay. So I've been very reactive to everything in my business. That's a lie. I've been proactive in like building it, but as far as scaling it, very just being so good they can't ignore you and letting it come to you, which gives you more leverage in negotiations. But if I have lofty goals with my businesses, I have to be a little bit more proactive, and then identifying exactly how I want to be more proactive, because I don't want to be less of me or make decisions that don't align with my core values. Right. That's perfect. Okay. Great answers. All right. 2 more questions. One's really, really easy. Where can our listeners get more of you? At Paleo Chef on Instagram, at Paleo Chef on Twitter. Twitter is amazing and underutilized. If you're an entrepreneur listening to this and you're not using Twitter, please get on Twitter and join conversations. PaleoChef.com for my antics. YouTube is Mixed Makeup for the YouTube show called Unicorn Fuel. And then Phat Fudge if you want Phat Fudge, PHAT fudge.com.
Okay. So Twitter for entrepreneurs, best practices, advice.
Be human.
Okay.
Yeah, I think people don't know what to do with Twitter. I have a lot of clients who are the 1%ers in the world. They all found me on Twitter. I as much as I've built my audience on Instagram, my street cred wouldn't be what it is without having a presence on Twitter. Or I don't even have a big presence. I just engage, and don't always talk about yourself, and don't always push your product, and don't use bots for the love of God. And follow people you find are interesting and you like what they have to say. And if a connection happens, let it happen naturally. Don't be aggressive about it. So I get asked all this time, like, how do you get those people to follow you? How do you get those people to talk to you? I'm like, I'll see them tweeting about an album I like, and we'll start talking about music, and then they come back and see what I'm doing. And they're like, oh shit, this is interesting. Tell me more. Or, I'll talk shit during playoffs to somebody, like actually talk shit to them. And then they're like, whoa, and then it turns into a friendship. So it's being human. I almost treat Twitter as though I'm in an elevator with someone that's going up 30 floors. So we've got some time to talk.
Okay. Mary, your top 3 tips to live optimal. And you cannot say eat, play, crush.
I can do whatever I want, sir. This is my house. You come into my home. 3 tips. You want drink water, or you want I love everyone.
Whatever you think.
3 tips to live.
Drink water is kind of boring.
Right?
Get better sleep is overplayed, but always important.
Okay, let me think about this. 3 tips to live optimally. Eat like you give a damn about yourself.
Okay.
Find somebody in your life that you respect that will call you on your bullshit when you won't call yourself on your bullshit. And honor each breath. Every breath you take, you have to honor it. So
that it's amazing. But I think it's one that when we hear it, if somebody reminds us of that all the time, every time you hear it, you're like, okay, yeah, that sounds great. I want to do that. But how can people practice that or make that something that doesn't leave their
so this might be morbid. I find, I've had a lot of death in my life. A lot of my high school friends are no longer living. A lot of family have died. I did bereavement and hospice counseling when I was 16. So obviously we know what happens at the end of anything in hospice. And I find that my friends and other people I meet that have that same appreciation have similar experiences where mortality we completely get. So if you don't have it, maybe sit there for half an hour and think about how you feel with your mom dying. How does that feel? Or how would you feel if your son or daughter died? Or think about, man, if I died, how would my dad feel about that if I died before him? And really feel that really oh my God feeling.
That really uncomfortable place that a lot of people don't want to go.
And then you're like, I cannot complain about shit. So if you haven't had a lot of loss in your life, meditate on that and feel it.
Be grateful that you haven't, but also
yeah. I mean, be grateful that you haven't, but know you're going to one day. No one escapes that.
Right.
So go there, feel those feelings. I know it's really morbid, but think about what it would be like for your family to have to go on without you, or for you to go on without people that you love. And we all know it sucks, but I mean, feel it. Mm-hmm. And then I feel like maybe that will give you the sense of consistent appreciation. Mm-hmm. I'm only suggesting it because I don't have to imagine it. Right. So it could be the wrong answer. I don't know.
No, there's no right or wrong answer. Guys, eat, play, crush. Mary, thanks for hanging out with us today.
Totally ended on a high note.
Make sure you guys go to naturalstacks.com. You'll be able to see the blog post and video version of this. We'll have links to Mary's blogs, all of her Instagram and YouTube channels, all of the other links and resources that we talked about. Go to iTunes, leave us a review, let us know how much you like the show. If you heard something on this show that resonated with you or stood out to you, something that you want to share, make sure that you do share it with your friends and family. That's how we help more people and get the message to them. Of course, if you want to leave us a great review on iTunes, that's always helpful.
Yeah, if you don't like me, don't tell me about it, because I don't care. I care.
If you have questions for us or for Mary, leave them on the blog, and we'll get you an answer. So, Mary, thanks for hanging out.
Do you have any jokes? Can we end on a joke?
I'm not a joke teller. Do you know a joke?
On my website, if you try to contact me, in the box it says I also like jokes. So I get very serious business inquiries, but they also begin or end with a joke, and those always get priorities. So I think a joke recently that I got was, have you heard about those corduroy pillows?
No.
They're leaving headlines everywhere.
Wow. Wow. Much less morbid way to end it. So thank you guys for hanging out with us. We'll catch you next Thursday.